Ready. Play.
Alcaraz versus Jack Draper. So just Carlos Alcaraz versus Jack Draper. Um, First of all, what has impressed you most? Start with you, Damien, about both Alcaraz's and Draper's runs to the semi-final.
I mean, with Alcaraz, I guess the question mark was going to be the new courts and how they were going to play, and whether his stronghold over this event was going to be as huge as it was in the past. And yes, so far, like, that's basically it. Like, the Świątek run to the semis is virtually Alcaraz's run to the semis, with just a few more games lost along the way, purely because, well, it's men's tennis, and like, you're not going to be breaking 50% of the time. For Draper, I don't know. He's just been like super sharp, exactly like the kind of consistency and basically rally shot tolerance that he's been able to display in any other event. He's doing that too. Yeah, I mean, similarly, obviously, they haven't lost a set. They haven't really like felt close to losing at any point. So it's good to see finally some 2000s action, pure 2000s action in the latter stages of events like this. Maybe Holger Rune will deliver too, and we might get a final between two very young guys.
That'd be pretty awesome. What's impressed you, Jack?
I mean, Draper. Everybody's talking about Draper now. It's on court, people are really, obviously they have been in the past, but certainly just been in the UK in general. There's a buzz about him. It does feel like he's. I was saying top 10 bound before. I'm starting to maybe review that. I feel like it could be top 5 and not just like fluky top 5. Kind of maybe getting there and staying kind of top 4 or 5 in the world for a wee while. Just his upside looks great now. He just doesn't look loose. He can really attack the ball when he needs to. Serve is getting better. He probably puts up a good fight against Alcaraz, but loses just by virtue of the course. But like maybe when the surface kind of levels things out, it could be really, really close against these guys. Like I do feel like Draper does have weaponry to actually contend against Alcaraz. Just maybe not here. Alcaraz is still just a little too comfortable here, and I certainly think Alcaraz is still the favourite overall.
I'm glad. I'm glad you sort of mentioned about the fact of, I mean, we know what Alcaraz has been able to do over the last few years, but for people to start to see the real upside in Jack, as you know, both you two not know, and a lot of people who watched Talking Tennis for a while, I've been a big supporter of Jack and a big fan of his for a number of years, and to finally see the game coming together like it is. I mean, I was really impressed by the fact that he had that, in a match against Ben Shelton when, yesterday when it was really windy conditions, a lot of the other matches were seeing more unforced, or certainly more errors to winners. Jack was one of the rare examples of somebody who was able to hit more winners than unforced errors, and to show that strong level of consistency, throughout that contest. And I've got a little bit of a bone to pick with John when it came to a couple of his predictions over the last couple of videos to do with Fritz and Shelton, thinking that those two were going to be able to beat Jack, and then for to wake up in the morning and to see that Jack's basically said to those predictions, "Yeah, you're just completely wrong," which has been quite a fun one to see. And the serve's looking really strong. The backhand's working well, and as was mentioned, to do with Alcaraz, and when it comes to the court and the time that it gives him to be able to really hone up his shots. One of the advantages I'm seeing for Indian Wells with Jack is that his forehand, he has more time on it, so he's not getting rushed as much by a few of the opposition, by the oppositions he's playing on that forehand, so he can really work it and turn it even more, from the weapon that it is at the moment, even into even more of a sort of a superior weapon. So Draper winning this in straights. I would be very doubtful for him to be able to win it in straights. A bit of a spoiler alert. I am saying that I think Jack will get through this one, and I think he will win it in 3 sets. I'm guessing I'm going to probably be the outlier in this, certainly in this video about it, just because I think Jack, he's not going to be scared of Alcaraz. He's not really scared of many players these days. He very much feels established on the tour, and his weapons and his ability not to feel too rushed. And somebody was looking at his insight quality. His forehand numbers are better than Alcaraz at the moment. Well, certainly for this tournament. His backhand numbers are looking better. Oh, no, sorry, Alcaraz's backhand numbers are better, but his serves quality has been looking really strong as well. I'm just seeing a really strong and great run from Jack this week, and I'm really pleased with everything that he's been able to do. Anyone want to jump on from that?
I mean, I would say that odds-wise, Draper is underrated. But if someone is predicting a Draper win here, it's just bias. Like, there's nothing else about it. Like, the favorite is clear. The favorite is clear. But yeah, I mean, good for Jack, and kind of the same way that, I don't know, we had like Taylor Fritz becoming, the best of the rest last season. Like, that looks like a pretty viable path for Jack at the moment. Like, the top of the game right now is, Sinner is out. There's Alcaraz, who's, well, amazing, but at the same time has conditions, courts, events where he doesn't really do all that well. And after that, it's a big effing mess. So, well, Holger Rune, Jack Draper, these guys.
I think Draper's got better.
Go for it. Yeah.
I honestly think he's got better upside than Fritz.
I mean, I think so too. Yeah, and that seems pretty obvious, I guess.
I mean, if you look at the moment, if you included only players that were 25 or under in the rankings, Jack Draper's the third best player in the world on ranking. Like, they're put that down to the fact that he is one of the best youngsters out there.
Great. I mean, if we're counting players who are from Poland but have never played matches but are living in my apartment, I'm number one. So, amazing.
Oh, come on! You can't say that my sample size is anywhere near that of
I do see David's point. To be fair, James, it's like the rest of the world is there, so you got to compare them to the rest of the world.
I just feel like you're kind of confirming arguments that nobody needs to confirm. Like, yeah, I mean, he's one of the best youngsters in the world. Yeah, sure.
But no, it's kind of really going down a rabbit hole. But yeah, like Jack says, it's. I don't think I think Draper's ability and his level will be greater than what Taylor Fritz will be able to achieve at his peak, and I'm kind of glad that my prediction at the start of the year of him being year-end number 6 may actually be seen as a lot more viable than it did do when I got laughed off the stream for it, and when I made the suggestion beforehand. And as was mentioned, it's also good to see the likes of Holger Rune making good runs. For Feast, it was a real shame last night. I mean, one of the things I think I said earlier on. Was around. It's a shame that Feast wasn't able to get the win over Medvedev, because we could have had a narrative of a Feast versus Rune and a Draper versus Alcaraz semi-final lineup at a big Masters event. That really does start to show that sort of shifting of the sands from that next gen lot of your Tsitsipas's, your Rublevs, your Medvedevs, to this newer generation where you're going to have like the Drapers, the Feasts, the Massettis, the Runes, who are going to be sort of taking over those latter stages of those big events.
Yeah, Feast is the upside might be there, but it's not. I don't think it's close to being there yet. I think he's got quite a long way to go before he makes that breakthrough. Not saying he won't. I think he's a little bit off. And then Shelton's kind of similar. I've kind of said that in the past, and I don't have loads of belief that he does get there. I just think like everything's a little bit too like wristy. It's like the forehand's like super like, and then the serve's exactly the same. I just feel like he's going to get injured at some point.
He pretty much broke his neck just trying to serve to stay in the match against Draper. I mean, that was quite funny to see him constantly keep on having to do that after every serve.
It's a bit wild. I don't know if this is a segue. I don't know if you're ready to move on, but Rune I'd like to talk about, because I still see the upside in him. I do think that he could go all the way. I genuinely still have the belief in Rune, despite the fact he's been away for a while, and it's just been, as Damien just said, a mess. He's one of those guys that's just a mess. Like.
What we'll do is we'll quickly talk about how the two matchups, the two semis, could potentially be in just a bit, but just to get your predictions. So you gathered mine. I've put my neck out there and said I think it'd be Draper in 3. I'm probably going to know exactly how Damien and Jack are going to go, and let's see how it does. But Damien, who are you going for?
I mean, I'm just not going to go against Alcaraz in the Indian Wells, like regardless who he's playing.
Alcaraz in straights, and I don't think it'll be like. Of course, I don't think it's going to be totally one-sided. And if Draper snuck a set, then I wouldn't be surprised. But I just think that's the safe bet.
Cool. Okay.
I mean,
So you
it's
got,
very different to Australia for sure. Like, when Jack had these 3 consecutive 5-setters, like he was just doomed there. He's not exactly doomed here, but he'd rather contest this match elsewhere.
I think if this is certainly on a grass court or on a fast hard court, then there could be, it would certainly be seen as a little bit more, as a on paper closer contest than as we got at the moment. But so sort of leads on to a question almost, which is looking at Alcaraz, like we had about Świątek and her looking very strong for her run to potentially retain the title. Alcaraz is looking in a similar sort of position. So my question is going to be: given the 3 other players that are still left in the draw, is the Jack match the best chance for somebody else rather than Alcaraz to win the tournament, or do you think Rune and Medvedev could be stronger?
I'm always scared of not believing in Medi. That people have made that mistake in the past, but obviously the matchup has shown the past couple of years that it should be one-sided. That if Medi does get to the final, it's maybe a fairly confident win for Carlos, but maybe the speed of the courts thing is really going to pay dividends, and it makes a difference. I just think because the courts are quite high bouncy, despite the speed of the courts, it should really fall in Carlos's favour if Medi gets to the final again. So if Medi gets to the final, he's got less chance than Draper, and I'd say probably the same for Rune. So I do think, in answer to your question, Draper's got the best chance.
Draper, Rune, like about equal. Medvedev, I don't want to see that much again. Like it's a cool story if they play 3 consecutive times in the final. It's cool for Daniil to make 3 consecutive Indian Wells finals because the conditions don't suit him at all. But I just don't want to watch it again. We've already seen that. I don't think it's going to be a match.
So you could be sort of the definition of madness or insanity. Sorry, they're doing the same thing over and over again and kind of hoping for a different result.
I mean, he has kind of adapted. He has learned to return a little closer to the baseline. He's tried some stuff. It's just never really been enough.
No, I mean, as I said, if it was to be Medvedev in that final, that's where you would certainly maybe want it to be Draper, just because then it's going to be something different. Whereas, as I think as both of you have said there, we would much rather see a Rune versus Alcaraz final than a Medvedev one, just because there's more jeopardy, there's more ability for there to be something different, and a chance potentially for a different result to maybe take place. But again, it's nothing to really, as you probably all gathered, when it came to the Świątek run and the potential Alcaraz run, it is very strong for both of those two to look like they're going to retain their titles.
Who's the bigger favorite to retain their title, Alcaraz or Świątek? It's not that tough, I think, but let's see. Maybe we will have different answers.
Alcaraz.
I would say Alcaraz. I think there's just there are too many higher, at least on paper, higher quality players en route for Świątek to get through than it would be Alcaraz for Alcaraz. And like the question we've just answered, we all probably agree that the best, barring Damien, you think 50-50 between Rune and Draper, that the Jack match is the best chance for anyone other than Alcaraz to potentially make the final different, or at least to have a different result than an Alcaraz victory.
Yeah, I mean, my thoughts exactly. I think the opponents on the women's side, they are just way too strong. Iga would probably beat Jack Edward. I don't know if you meant that with the previous comment about the opponents left in the draw of who was that? Of Alcaraz. But yeah, I mean, the Świątek opponents are way tougher.
Brilliant. Okay, I think then that is everything for these two semi-finals. Remember it's around about 11 o'clock UK time, so around about midnight Central European time for the 2 women's semi-finals to be taking place. I believe it's Świątek and Draper is the first one up at 11, or is that the way around?
Yep.
Yeah. And then not before 2 hours later after that, it would then be the Sabalenka Keys one. So if you're based in Europe, you have to stay up pretty late to be able to watch those lot, or if you're based in the States, your quid's in. And then hopefully the times will be a bit better tomorrow. We haven't got the odds to play out, but I remember from last year there being more afternoon-y type based for the 2 men's semi-finals. I believe they will start with Medvedev versus Rune, just because that side of the draw was completed for first of all yesterday, and then it'll be Draper, Alcaraz probably leading the sort of like the twilight session. But thank you, Jack, and thank you, Damien, for being on for the preview of these 2 matches.
That's all right. No worries, James.
No worries.
Excellent. Make sure you watch them. Make sure you continue to watch stuff on Talking Tennis. We'll have live streams of as many of the matches as possible. And remember, we've got the course of the second half of the Sunshine Double, which will be taking place in a week and a bit's time when it kicks off in Miami. Goodbye, everyone.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis.